Hello, welcome back to the channel. It is your boy GZTV. We are back with another video, and in this video we are here to talk about the 2018 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name. We're going back a couple of years from the Black Widow film. We have Black Panther. Here we have it. We have the standalone Black Panther film, a movie that took the world by absolute storm and seemed to be a return to form for the MCU when it first came out, and to this day still sort of serves as a revolutionary piece trying to send a message in the never-ending battle of social discrimination. I think this movie serves its purpose in that regard. This movie was huge when it first came out, and honestly, in this video, I'm going to tell you guys why it was huge for some of the wrong reasons. There's a little bit of politics we can discuss here. I don't want to get too deep into it, but there you go. Chadwick Boseman was a guy sort of similar to Scarlett Johansson that I wasn't super familiar with going into this film. Marvel really introduced me to him as an actor, and unfortunately, he passed away due to cancer a couple of years ago, but he had a really good run with Marvel. There's some pretty big actors and actresses here as well that I was familiar with before this. Michael B. Jordan, who we all know and love, Miss Michonne herself, Denai Guerrero, Lupita Nyong'o, who was the menacing Red from Us, Winston Duke, who is also from that film. You get Daniel Kaluuya, who is in another Jordan Peele film, his best film I think, Get Out, and he made that film great, as well as Nope, he was in that movie too, and many others. Forrest frickin' Whitaker was in this thing. Can this movie carry its own weight to this day with a cast like that? There's only one way to find out. You guys know how these videos go. First, we're going to get into the premise. So after the death of his father, T'Challa returns home to the African nation of Wakanda, which is where most of this film takes place. It's fictional, to take his rightful place as king. He is the successor. He is the son. So naturally, unless someone wants to challenge him, he takes over. And that's the thing. When a powerful enemy suddenly reappears and wants to take over the throne, T'Challa's mettle as king and as Black Panther gets tested when he's drawn into a conflict that puts the fate of Wakanda and the whole world at risk. Faced with treachery and danger, the young king must rally his allies and release the full power of Black Panther to defeat his foes and secure the safety of his people. And that's super cool to me. Like, the whole thing of challenging the throne, that's what makes this movie so unique, and we'll expand upon that in the video. It's awesome, man. Maybe how they executed that with Killmonger wasn't the absolute greatest, but it was still a pretty good watch here overall. I love how this film takes place basically right after Captain America Civil War, just for some context clues. If you're watching the MCU in order, this is the film you would watch after that, with, the death of his father, T'Challa, and again, that is the beauty of watching this franchise back again. Everything ties in so well, but as a whole, I'm about to let you guys know how I feel about this movie, so let's get into it, shall we? Are you worthy of the throne? I don't know, kind of threw something at the end there. Getting into the good, I think Marvel once again excels at world building and taking on a different aesthetic, as this film very heavily kind of has this African tribal inspiration behind it, with kind of a futuristic, modern MCU touch to it, and they executed that well. Again, I think they take a lot of cultures very successfully and turn them into superhero films, and that was kind of the art of the comic books back in the days, just exploring cultures. I think that's great. Everything looked cool. Like, Killmonger looked cool, and how at first he had this tribal mask on, just kind of paying homage to that, how the Black Panther tradition started, and how this suit has evolved, all of the tribal wear that everyone's wearing, and especially the little skin spots. I don't even know what the fuck to call those. I know that's like a tribal tradition in some places. It's like a piercing to get these like welts on your skin. I don't really know. That looked awesome. I think especially with Killmonger, like his whole body was just lined and dotted, and how each of them represented a kill, that's absolutely badass. Again, aesthetically, this movie excels. It looks incredible. Wakanda, again, as this African futuristic city, looked cool. You have like the aircrafts, just a good looking movie. As always with Marvel Studios, you will never be disappointed in the looks department here. The lab and the tech they come up with, the rituals, everything's awesome. And this movie was a spectacle. Like, it had to have taken years to make. Technically it did. It's almost like an Avatar level of spectacle and world building here. I think it's amazing. For them to create a place and for it to be this impactful and engaging, wow, that is a great feat for this studio. Just getting into something else, compared to a lot of the lore-filled movies that we have covered with Marvel in the past, I actually really liked how simplistic and straightforward this story is. I'm not a comic book reader, obviously. I've said that in videos before, so it is quite refreshing to get a film that doesn't throw too much at you, doesn't throw too much lore, doesn't try to like do too much and be clever and all of this stuff. And again, that's with the comic books. Like, they're basing this film off the comic books, so whatever they did there is what they're going to do in this film. But again, I like how they just didn't try to do too much. I think that is great. And I explained the premise pretty easily, like pretty subtly and pretty briefly with you guys. And that's kind of a plus in itself, to just be able to summarize this movie and not have all of these complicated storylines thrown in there. I think it was great. This is also a film for everyone, I think, like every creed and color. Ha, you get it, creed. And the whole social commentary behind it doesn't make it seem that way, but this is a movie that I feel like a lot of social and age groups can enjoy. So that is another plus. Again, we will get into the politics of everything later, as it is a mixed element. We'll get to that soon. Don't worry about it. The characters overall are pretty decent as well. I like T'Challa. Obviously, he's the main character. He's a very respectable character. There are about 1 or 2 characters that were meh a little bit, but overall, it's a really good movie. The smart scientific T'Challa's sister and the relationship they have there, she was awesome. She was one of my favorite characters in the movie. The former love interest of his, who turns out to just be an absolute warrior. I missed out on a lot of how the characters were related because either I wasn't paying attention or they just didn't touch on it enough. But Daniel Kaluuya's character, with a few choices as the exception, was good. I can't even remember the character's name, and it does kind of suck that I can't remember some of the characters' names. Guria playing the big general and being the same badass she was in The Walking Dead. I loved her character. I also loved kind of an American, an outsider to their tribe, getting involved as almost a devil's advocate, kind of just helping in the conflict because it's the good side. I don't know, that was cool to me. Shout out to Ross. I don't remember the actor's name. I'll pop it on the screen. Shout out to him. He did great. The different factions were cool too, and just adding on to that, one of the bigger members of the other factions was Winston Duke's character. I forgot his name as well. Any names I'll pop up on the screen. He came through at the end, and he was also pretty funny, so he was a pretty good character as well in this movie. Just a great continuation also of films. They picked up very well where Captain America Civil War left off, so that is cool. And again, that adds to just the satisfaction of going through a movie universe and having movies in sequential order. I think that's the best part of it, and especially retrospectively going back and doing that. Also, this is probably one of my favorite movie soundtracks ever. It's probably up there with like Space Jam. I loved it. I think that's a huge highlight of this film is the soundtrack. Kendrick Lamar is my guy. You guys probably know that by now. I've made a bunch of videos of him on the channel. Him being there with The Weeknd and SZA, and not even just that, but the score as well. Not just like the actual tracks from the soundtrack, but like the score and just how it sounded was good. The music overall is amazing. I loved how the tribal drums sounded. It really set the tone throughout the movie. It's awesome. And just getting into T'Challa a little bit more in depth, I just think there's a lot of good character work with him and his development, just like learning things. Chadwick, God rest his soul, did such a good job in this role, you know, being king, just getting into the action scenes as well. I think they were great. I think the entire Korea sequence, everything that happened with Korea was fucking phenomenal in this movie. That was all time. I mean, it was almost like Spider-Man stopping the train caliber to me. That was great. Like the car chase and like them in the little casino, that was awesome. I loved it. And that sort of goes along with just the culture of this film, just getting into the different places they went to, because there are so many places we venture to in this movie, and that is great. Good mix there. Nice changes in scenery for sure. And one last thing, I think similar to Black Widow, it is also just such a unique movie. It's very different. Futuristic tribal warfare mixed with a man on his journey to become king and learn how to be as such. Sign me the fuck up. That is awesome. It's just a great story. It's just a great concept of a character, great concept of a film as well. So getting into the bad, I know a lot of people probably won't like me for this, but I'm just not a huge fan of Killmonger as a character. Sure, he has his positives, you know, he looks cool, he has the swag to him. I mean, he is Wakandan, but being from Oakland, basically being another outsider, and sure, the reveal with him being blood related to T'Challa was nice, and him being that kid that they focused on towards the beginning of the film, all of that was cool. I liked how that tied in, and it added like a nice little punch when they have that kind of revelation there. Also, you know, he's no doubt effective as a villain, very strong, skilled, experienced killer. There's every reason to want that crown, and he was an absolute menace for sure. I think it is a unique angle also for him to sort of infiltrate his own people and do it his way. I think the problem was just his mannerisms. I think just the bad part about him was his mannerisms. He just didn't seem to understand the way of the Wakandans, like the way of the people. Like he is one of them, and yet like he has no class at all, and I didn't like that. I didn't like how abrasive he was in his role. You're not really supposed to kill the king when you challenge him to these rules. You're supposed to respect the yielding rules and whatnot, and he just didn't do that. Again, he didn't follow a lot of the traditions. He was a very hateable guy, and again, I say this all the time in these videos, but I mean, that is the point of a villain. Like, you're supposed to hate his guts, and in that sense, he does great, but it almost gets over the top to where, like, he just looks kind of fucking dumb doing it, like, in the process. Whenever a villain gets to that point, it's like, yeah, you're just ignorantly fucking breaking the rules and being stupid, and, like, you're not even, like, a badass villain. You're just, like, a character I don't like. You're not, like, a Joker. I can't think of other bad villains in the past. There's plenty of them, especially in this universe, but there you go. Also, he just took everything too far. He was trying to kill the sister, was just an absolute dick about everything. Didn't respect the healing herbs, just broke traditions for no reason whatsoever. He's literally the definition of like not to be that guy about 1,000 times over. He just pissed me off, and to kind of go along with that, I get that he was king, but why were people so quick to follow his commands, knowing that he wasn't fit to be king, knowing that his ambitions were too high, knowing that he had shitty intentions? Is there not a single person there that could have been like, hey, maybe you're taking this too far? Again, I know there's probably rules for that with these people, but it's like, really? Whatever, I guess. I don't know. Like, Kaluuya being so quick to going against T'Challa, even though he came back, like, he never yielded. The fight was never over. Came back, and Kaluuya's character still wanting to, like, fucking fight him. It's like, seriously, it fucking made me mad, honestly. There you go. So getting into the okay, I will say this movie isn't as good as people made it out and are still making it out to be, and that in itself can kind of ruin the watching experience a little bit, because based on critical reception, you would expect this movie to be the best Marvel film. I don't even think it comes close to that, though. I think we've seen already, like, there's still 2 amazing Avengers movies coming up, but I think we've already seen probably about 5 to 10 Marvel movies that are better than this, and we're not even through the franchise yet. I guess the fact that I still liked this movie despite some of these expectations could be seen as a plus, so it kind of mixes together in the mixed, the okay section. Whatever, I'll get into the politics again at the end of this section. This is another movie that probably would have been better had I seen it in theaters, given the hype it got, and I don't think I did, so there's that. There's a lot of kind of like circumstantial things with this movie and like the context of me watching it that it's like, it would have been better if it was this way. I might have seen this in theater, but I don't remember it. I don't know. I didn't really have a hype theater if I did. The humor is subtle. Just getting into the humor, it's fine. Doesn't really do too much for me, but it's also not over the top, attempting to be Will Ferrell humor like what David Harbour did in the film before this that we covered with Black Widow, so that's kind of mixed in itself. The humor's just kind of there. There's a lot of things in this okay section that are just there. That's like the best way to describe it. I didn't mind the CGI either. I think that was okay. That's another thing in this movie that was kind of just there, and usually I like the video game-esque CGI that you see in movies like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, but I suppose this movie is over 10 years, almost 15 years later than that, so I don't know. And T'Challa, the whole idea of him like dying in this duel sort of sucks some momentum out of his character in this movie at a point, but they eventually rebounded it, so I think that is fine as well. That kind of levels itself out as an okay element. Andy Serkis as that one Russian dude, I can't fucking remember his name again. They throw so many characters at you in this movie that some of them are gonna be not memorable. He was fine. It seemed like he belonged in the Suicide Squad movie, though. Maybe he'd fit better over in that universe. I don't know. He was just kind of there again. The teasing of Bucky Barnes at the end, finding this tribe, and that's where he hit off to, was fine, but it didn't do too much for me. So it is just another one of those whatever aspects in this movie. Again, like I said, another thing that's kind of there. I just wanted to cover as many things with this movie as I can. Let's talk about the politics, or whatever, too. I won't speak too much on it as it's pretty controversial and I don't want to get like gunned down in my comment section, but just them forcing this oppressor angle with the white guilt and with Killmonger's motivations to be king, it makes sense. Like, the good part about that is like, that's fine, like, oh, I want to dominate the world so my people can't be oppressed, but the message that it subtly sends with it, like kill them all kind of thing, it's just not the right way to go about it. It seems radical, it seems forced. There's good and bad to the politics and the social commentary here, but I'm overall mixed on it. So getting into the review, let's go ahead and pull up the tier list. I still think this movie is pretty good. I don't know if it's great. It's pretty good. Like, don't get me wrong, I know it sounded like I wasn't going to be so high on it just because of how little of the hype I fed into going into this, as well as just kind of like looking at it retrospectively, but trust me when I say this, we needed this movie in the MCU. I think it's great. It's a great introduction. It's a great character story about a guy and his trials and tribulations as king in the wake of his dad's death, and recovering from that. There's a lot of humility. There's some decent jokes and laughter and decent combat as well. This movie was pretty good. It's not, again, in this upper echelon of even this universe, let alone movies in general, but I wouldn't mind watching it again. It's just one of those like manage your expectations type of movies, and that's okay. I still enjoyed it. Could it be a little shorter for a character introduction? Of course. I didn't really discuss that, but wow, this movie was a little long, but apparently the more the better for Marvel right there, so there you have it. That's kind of expected when it comes to this movie studio. Great cast, great soundtrack, really big moment for social constructs apparently, which I don't really get all the way because I'm not of that persuasion, of that color, but still, I do have to acknowledge it for the cultural impact it had. But there you go. Let me know in the comments how high or how low you are on this film. I'm just going to go ahead and give it an 8.2 out of 10. Again, that's like an amazing rating to give this film. Most people would say it's probably in the 9s. I still think it's a really good movie, but it's just not as good as people are hyping it up to be. So with that being said, I am out, guys. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to get these clips together, start editing. I do have streams and other stuff to get to, but I'm going to try to edit this as quick as possible. You'll probably be getting this on Monday, and then we're going to get into Thor Ragnarok. That is next up, and then after that, I'm so fucking excited. We have the last 2 Avengers films, and then we're going to close it out with, I think, more Black Panther as well as Doctor Strange. So there's the plans.